It's time for a real fake news update, not brought to you by Pfizer. Today, we're going to be looking into the ongoing story and coverage of the arrest and disappearance of Mahmoud Khalil and the university apparently crackdown on free speech by the Trump administration. How is this being covered right now? Well, CNN's Scott Jennings had some words of choice to say about the arrest, and they weren't very kind. Let's hear the coverage from Scott Jennings, who usually has gotten a lot of stuff right during election time. Completely wrong on this. Let's hear his take.
An alien, he can be deported under U.S. law for if the Secretary of State has any reasonable ground to believe he would have a potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequence. And you mentioned the student organization. The student organization put out. Let me finish.
But before you move on, because I think that's a really important point, right? That's the statute that they're using.
Yeah.
Have you seen any evidence to suggest that there is actually a serious reason to believe that this student is going to be a threat to national security?
I've certainly watched the abomination that's gone on at Columbia and Barnard and other places, and I will just tell you, and I'll just tell you that
I'm not going to let you move on because this is the
I'll tell you why it's a threat to national security if you let me answer you.
Well, Scott,
do you want me to answer you or not?
Okay.
His organization says we are dedicated fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization.
Okay.
He's not a citizen. He doesn't need to be here.
You just described him having viewpoints that you disagree with. Again, is that enough to have someone lose their rights in this country?
He has viewpoints that, in my opinion, jeopardize the security of the United States.
But how?
He is obviously a radical who is here to foment.
No, he's not a radical at all. He's
violence against the United States government.
He wants to destroy Western civilization.
Are you hearing this garbage? Do you guys know how free speech works? Do you guys have any idea that the fact that Scott Jennings, and again, I am so disappointed in this guy because he got a lot of stuff right on the election, a lot of stuff right on the two-party bullshit theater, and he called out his own network several times on that. But in this, do you hear the words he's using? He's obviously a radical. I don't agree with so your opinion of the guy is enough to say get him out of here because you personally disagree. You personally think he's a radical. These are subjective. This is subjective language, and if you're going to be okay with this in this subjective environment that you're claiming it is, you're not giving anything exact. You're talking about feelings. I feel like he's radical. What does radical mean? What does that mean? What does radical mean? Do you guys know what radical is? A word thrown around. It's used by establishment talking points. It's been used for several decades. CIA talking point. We know that when you call someone a radical, you dismiss them, their credibility. But radical to what? The two-party system that's on a linear plane that simplifies the things that people are for and against, and you say you're radical? You're radical because you don't want war. You're radical because you don't want genocide. You're radical because you don't want to murder people. And you claim that Hamas is a terrorist organization because of activities that you're describing. Look, this is not okay. And you got a guy in power like Rubio who's actually going to be in charge of making the decision on what happens to this guy. And that's not okay because he's using the same language. Let's hear how Rubio justifies the free speech situation. When you say, hey, Rubio, we're talking about free speech. And Rubio goes, no, we're not, because I say so, because I say it's not about free speech. And that's what they're all going with. And that's basically, we're back to this free speech argument that Rubio doesn't like. So let's hear him try to maneuver around the claim that what this is a free speech rights violation. 100%.
President Trump appealed to a lot of Americans during his campaign on free speech arguments and not suppressing speech, especially from the government. But your revocation of the green card, to many, is seen as one of the most anti-speech actions a secretary could take with his powers. How do you respond?
Yeah, when you enter this is an important point, and I'm glad you asked this question. When you come to the United States as a visitor, which is what a visa is, which is how this individual entered this country, as on a visitor's visa, okay, you are here as a visitor. We can deny you that visa. We can deny you that if you tell us when you apply, hi, I'm trying to get into the United States on a student visa. I am a big supporter of Hamas, a murderous, barbaric group that kidnaps children, that rapes teenage girls, that takes hostages, that allows them to die.
So this is the moment you interrupt the piece of crap and you say, oh, all the things you're saying is what the IDF does, right? I'm sorry, did you say Hamas? Because every single one of those claims has been debunked and the IDF has admitted to do all those things. So when are we going to call the IDF a terrorist organization? When are we going to do that? So again, but even if what he's saying is true, even if Hamas does these things, which they don't, but even if they do, he's deflecting the conversation about free speech, because that's what it is. It's free speech. We can argue to the end of day. We can argue all day long about what an organization does or doesn't do, or its values, or is it radical? Is it not radical? We can have that discussion, but these are subjective conversations when it comes to how you feel about a group. Well, we feel that they're a danger. We feel that he's a danger when there's no actual law being broken at all. And the reporters in the room need to double down on that. Of course they don't. They're lucky to get the question in at all. Rubio goes and posts this everywhere as if he won this conversation. And I cannot stand that you can watch the same footage and be cheering on the guy when we can watch it and go, no, this guy is deflecting. This guy is abusing his power, and he's doing everything that the MAGAs claimed that they were against. They were against this. The January 6th stuff. We can talk about how we champion free speech and right to protest. And now you're doing the exact opposite. So this is not what we're watching is not okay. And we need more of the mainstream. I mean, we don't really need them. We don't need the mainstream to do anything. But if it now would be the time for more people to stand up, that understand that their job right now on mainstream, their job is to make Donald Trump look bad because that's what they signed up for. Wouldn't this be a time to do that? This might be a good time for you guys to do your little Rachel Maddow face. Oh, can you believe it? Can you believe he's arresting people for free speech? Now would be the time. Do the thing, guys. The thing you guys were hired to do. This would be the time to do it. We're not seeing too much of it. We're seeing a little bit, but we're seeing more Scott Jennings than not. More people claiming that you have to do a swift and fast move on this before the college campuses get out of control and they're complete chaos. And it's just so hard to watch peaceful protesters destroy the campuses. So no, that needs to be challenged. And again, we're not holding our breath for mainstream, but you guys, you kind of signed up for that. Make Trump look bad. Now would be the time. All right, that's a real fake news update. Not brought to you by Pfizer.